spien af, met raad en saam, met lyding en hoop, verdriet en saam staan jy staan. Jy is altyd daar. Dit wat ons doen, ons liefdes, ons vreugdes, ons plekke, ons thuisdes, tot daar waar ons reis, jy is daar. Afrikaans is ons wese, dis die taal waarin ons groet, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou 'n sein, met 'n boodskap daarby, en waar jy is, sal jy dit kry, in Afrikaans vir ons mense. Al verander straatname, al word helde laat val, ons is steeds deur ons adem, ons kultuur, ons verhaal, dit sal altyd bestaan. Afrikaans is ons wese, dis die taal waarin ons groet, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou 'n sein, met 'n boodskap daarby, en waar jy is, sal jy dit kry, in Afrikaans vir ons mense. Ons is daarmee gebore, die taal waarvoor ons staan, dit vloei deur ons are, ons kinders praat het saam, dit sal altyd bestaan. Afrikaans is ons wese, dis die taal waarin ons groet, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou 'n sein, met 'n boodskap daarby, en waar jy is. Dis die taal waarin ons groet, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou 'n sein, met 'n boodskap daarby, en waar jy is, sal jy dit kry, en Afrikaans vir ons mense. Afrikaans vir ons mense. Afrikaans vir my mense. Afrikaans vir ons mense.
Folks, welcome back to Dub Africa. This is Chris once again. Happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas to all the folks out there around the world, whether you find yourself in Deutschland, Österreich, der Schweiz, überall auf der Welt, and for the folks who find themselves in the lovely Emerald Isle or the United Kingdom, Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah to all our friends over there. For those of you out in the Pacific, there in Australasia, in Australia, New Zealand, the Pacific Islands, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah to any folks who are Jewish and celebrate Hanukkah, which we're in the midst of right now. And of course, to all our viewers here in North America, Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah to you, and to all the folks in Africa who tune into this, which is over half the audience. Thank you so much for your support and dedication to the program. South Africa is rapidly making itself an unvisitable place. Yet another prominent physician assaulted, beaten in Cape Town, vowing never to return to the country. The 67-year-old U.S. physician, a subject matter expert on tuberculosis, has been coming to South Africa 25 years, and nearly losing his life was enough for him to decide that he's had enough of South Africa and its violence. Imagine how South Africans feel, my friend. Let's say hello to everybody in the chat. Now we're going to get to the chocolates because it is the Advent calendar. Shannon Dickens, it's raining a lot in Maine. Love Audrey Hepburn. Yeah, I like Audrey Hepburn. She's all right. Shannon had rest. Okay, glad to see you back there. Vilma Rasmus, Dylan Comrick, always here, Dylan. And Vilma, good to see you again. Hendo's here. Ooh, and he's on time. Fiona, welcome to Fiona. You can watch Fiona's channel if you've got interesting stories about her childhood, the White Zulu. And then George Steinberg. Hey, George, how's it going? Teresa, Freelance Kate, do you know what's happening with Ronaldo's Sunday live stream? No. Did something happen to his Sunday live stream? Is he not doing it? I don't know. I was doing rugby yesterday, so that wasn't on my chart. Carlos says, Congo, here we come. Mark says, crime state. Yep. Val Cooper's here. Hey, Val, always a pleasure. And who am I missing here? I think I've got most everybody. Someone popped. G. Sawyer's popped in there. I didn't see him. Hey, G. Sawyer, how you doing there? Renine Scores is in from Italy. Salve. Hey, how's it going? And then Brian Lawrenson. Who else? Don't think. Rod Lofeld is in. Hey, Rod, how's it going? How is Bloemfontein? And David Suber's here. Welcome. 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 And I think I've hit everybody in the chat that I see out there. So welcome back to the program, folks. Listen, I've got a bit of fuzzy brain, so my apologies in advance if whatever I say is a little bit off. Hopefully I'm on the mark today, but I scheduled a meeting for all the employees of the Veteran Service Organization to talk to them about events and about what's going on at the post. And it's for next Monday, but I told my officers that it was this Monday at 9 o'clock. And so we were there, but there were no employees. And then I realized that it was set for next week. I didn't schedule the date, but the club manager who set it up did tell me the date, and it just slipped my fuzzy mind. So still dealing with the impacts of some little bug or crud I've got here. It's minor, though, but it is affecting my chest and putting me off my game a little bit. So I'll do my best to bring you the news. Jax is back. Hey, Jax. How you doing? And Frederick Erasmus. Welcome, Frederick. Good to see you there again. All right. So, I got a ton of news to talk about today. Gaza, Hamas has threatened to murder the remaining living Israeli hostages whom they kidnapped in their crimes against humanity assault on October 7th, threatening to murder them unless the Israeli authorities meet their demands. Yeah, that's pretty cheeky of them. In addition to that, we've got American physician nearly beaten to death in the streets of Cape Town in Philippi. And beyond that, we've got the Biden regime up to its usual nonsense. The world is on fire, ladies and gentlemen. It's our turn to douse the flames. Charles Van Onselen, where you been, Charles? Been missing your cogent contributions to the chat. Good to see you there. Hester Kutz is here too. Hester, how's it going? The Azania curse is coming true. Nothing works or grows as the shacks get even thinner. Yep, true beans. Let's get to the story here. All right, first off, some of you may have seen my short-form live stream yesterday about the economic freedom fighters' effort to rename statues in Port Elizabeth, Nelson Mandela Bay, including statues related to honoring horses who lost their lives and performed service during the Anglo-Boer War. Hundreds of thousands of horses. It's a statue to horses, the horse statue. Apparently, it offends the sensitivities of the race-hustling economic freedom fighters. That's the first story out of the gate here. Let's go ahead and get to the stories. But I did a live short-form broadcast on that yesterday, and some folks have watched that. Thank you for that, about 2,000. EFF calls removal of colonial statues in Nelson Mandela Bay Metro. No word on whether the EFF will promote the installation of Nguni-speaking colonial statues. They're not focusing on that. A motion in the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro has sparked discussion on the removal of colonial statues in Gaza. Well, it's Port Elizabeth, and it is not colonial statues. It's South African statues from South African history. But heritage officials mentioned that taking them out won't be that simple. Now, according to Ndumiso Kwazi, the EFF person pushing this, he said, "For those of us who have a brutal history under those governments, we have taken the stance that we do not want to be reminded of how we were dominated. It causes so much pain." Well, dude, nobody living today was under Queen Elizabeth or Queen Victoria. Not a single person lived under Queen Victoria. All those people are dead. So you suffered no pain under Queen Victoria's reign. It's historical. Get over yourselves and your massive ego and move on. And why don't you build something? Instead of tearing things down, why don't you build something? We learn from history, learn from the minds out there. These aren't exactly, it's not like someone built a 60-foot statue and put it in the middle of Santon City for everybody to stare at. Oh, wait, they did. That was Mandela, the self-professed terrorist. Former president of South Africa, self-professed terrorist from Umkhonto we Sizwe, founder of Umkhonto we Sizwe, the comical armed wing of the African National Congress. But there's a big statue of him. I'm sure that offends some people as well. "I doubt I'll ever return to South Africa." Those are the words of a U.S. physician, a New York professor, after he was attacked in Cape Town. David Russell was in South Africa for an immunology conference to deliver a talk on tuberculosis. The debilitating fear he could be killed in a heartbeat will stay with Professor David Russell for a long time. This is after he was attacked and robbed at gunpoint in Cape Town. The world-renowned tuberculosis expert said he had looked forward to spending 10 days in Cape Town, but his visit turned to horror last Monday when he fell victim to a hijacking attempt in Philippi, one of the most crime-ridden suburbs in the city. The 67-year-old William Kaplan, professor of infection biology at Cornell, was a guest speaker at the International Union of Immunological Societies conference held in Cape Town. He was set to give an in-depth presentation on his extensive TB research. Russell has a long-standing relationship with South Africa where the disease is highly burdensome. I have several stitches in the back of my head from the way the criminals smashed my head. My hand got so severely injured that the bones started piercing through my skin, and one of my left fingers also needed some serious stitching up. He'd used Apple Maps on his iPhone to direct him from Simonstown to the shores of False Bay. On the shores of False Bay to Cape Town International Airport, we wanted to drop off his rental car at Hertz and return to the convention center with an Uber. The app directed him down Baden-Powell into New Eisleben Road in Philippi. I remember the morning so clearly there was a bit of traffic, and then I had to stop at a set of traffic lights, robots, and suddenly I heard a driver's side window being smashed. Shattered glass flew in every direction. Before he could blink, 3 men had surrounded his hired white Toyota. 2 men repeatedly punched him in the face and pounded his head to the extent that his vision went blurry, while a third man grabbed his cell phone. Tried so hard to fight them off, but the attack was so violent. Covered in blood, I recall, man, this is what the Hertz people said, walking up, offering his driver's license, telling me to pull my vehicle aside of the road so he could check it out. Yeah, well, Russell said it was thought a way of tricking him so he could be robbed, so instead turned on the ignition and sped out of the area. Wow. The actions of the police left him bitterly disappointed. There's no sympathy or sense of urgency. I don't recall seeing them writing down any information. I even took my laptop out and showed where my iPhone was located because I was able to track where the phone was. He said, I've not heard anything from the police. It's pathetic to say the least. After traveling to South Africa for more than 25 years, Russell said he has no plans of ever returning. I doubt I'll return to South Africa because it becomes so violent. He had local authorities should put safety signs in dangerous areas. I think it's beyond irresponsible for local authorities not to have done this already. I fail to understand why signs have been put up to warn visitors of wildlife crossing the roads and at rock falls in the mountains, but no signs of criminality in dangerous areas have been erected. Asked for comment, Western Cape Police spokesman Sergeant Wesley Twigg confirmed that no case was registered, but encouraged Russell to report the incident so that an investigation could be launched. Of course, Dr. Russell attempted to report the incident and was ignored by local police. So the Western Cape Police got their head up their ass. It is quite scary, ladies and gentlemen, what's happening in South Africa. It is beyond comprehension, the level of violence and the disdain for human life that continues to perpetrate the actions of many South Africans each and every day. It's no longer simply a minority and remote, infrequent occurrence. It's a daily occurrence, particularly in the Western Cape. It gets a lot of attention where a lot of international tourist arrivals land. And with the switch of OR Tambo being the main arrival point in South Africa to being Cape Town, we're seeing more and more reports of innocent foreign nationals murdered, raped, robbed, executed by criminals in Cape Town. And authorities there seem incapable or unwilling or undesiring to actually do something about it. Pretty scary stuff there, folks. Well, the post office will no longer pay cash to SASSA grants. Wow. If you collect your grant payment at your local post office, you'll have to make other arrangements. According to the South African Social Security Agency, grant beneficiaries will no longer be able to collect their grants from their post office and postbank. Physical cash payment points will be phased out according to those organizations. Phasing out will take place from January of next year. The hope is that by March of 2024, the process will be finished and complete. This step by SASSA was initially announced in 2018, was created as a way to deter cash in transit heists and reduce the stress on the struggling post office. Yeah, but you put stress on SASSA grant recipients who now have to figure a way to get paid their $23 in bribes from the ANC. Parliament's accused in the Parliament fire is found incompetent, unfit to stand trial. Zandile Mafe is found unfit to stand trial. Now, there's no surprise there as they try to cover up the ANC's collusion and its negligence in the parliamentary fire. Western Cape High Court declared Parliament arsonist accused Zandile Mafe unfit to stand trial. On Monday, Judge Nathan Erasmus ruled that he was of the view that Mafe was incapable of understanding proceedings. Therefore, my finding is that in this occurrence with the experts, as it's commonly known, he is not fit to stand trial. He's accused of burning down Parliament on New Year's Eve while the ANC sat around and had no security and they ignored the cameras. The world has changed. Roger Jardine, recently supposedly being courted for the multi-party charter, is launching a new political party. something South Africa doesn't need. A new political party made up of business leader, former freedom fighter, and social justice activist was launched. Former freedom fighter Murphy Morobe joined the party's campaign as campaign director. The party's leader, Roger Jardine, hinted at a coalition government. And the new party is called Change Starts Now. It's the latest party to join the political arena after launching at the Rivilia Empowerment Center on Sunday. Led by Jardine, the party has managed to draw big names, including Mark Haywood and Nicole Fritz. Latest addition to the group is former freedom fighter and UDF leader Murphy Morobe. They will contest the 2024 elections. Lots of people looking at this new party and what South Africa doesn't need, more political parties. Well, a t-shirt dump and claims by the ANC's lunatic, confused distraction, Fikile Mabulula, is bringing disrepute on the ANC, and that's impressive given how irreputable or disreputable the ANC has become. EFF t-shirt dump and rent-a-crowd claims leave Mabula red-faced. An election campaign to welcome back members went wrong for ANC Secretary General Fikile Mabulula when he encountered backlash from social media after a car was seen on video dumping off t-shirts to people who belong to the EFF on Sunday. In a video by Eyewitness News just outside the hall where the ANC ceremony was held, an unmarked white vehicle was seen dropping off new EFF t-shirts and distributing to the people who the ANC claimed were returning to the party. It's alleged the ANC rented the crowd to make it seem like they were dumping the EFF for the ANC. Many social media users described the situation as an act of desperation for the anticipated 2024 general elections. This comes after the EFF expelled about 62 senior party members for failing to procure buses for its 10th anniversary. Mabulula welcomed members and said their comeback was a positive step in their efforts to fight towards the elections. Let's thank our comrades who came back to the ANC from that lost party called the EFF. We say welcome back home. We thank you. For you could have gone anywhere and you joined other parties, but you chose the ANC. We thank you so much. We've heard from you. You're not petty. You're political. You have given us the political reasons why you're coming back. Meanwhile, in a statement, the EFF in Gauteng said Mabulula's address was not a surprise. Stating the ANC has, over the last few weeks, launched an electioneering campaign aimed at discrediting the EFF, as well as its leadership across Gauteng. He said, we are, however, concerned the ousted councillor alongside the ANC might rent a group of people who were never members of the EFF. Well, of course the ANC would do that. It's the same thing the EFF does. If it doesn't rent people, it bribes them with KFC three-piece streetwise and T-shirts. So, hey, South Africa's chosen Gazprom for an important energy project. Wow. To revive a refinery, despite sanctions threat. So the ANC keeps flirting with Russia despite the fact that everybody else is angry with Russia. State-owned oil company Petro SA has selected Russian state-owned financier Gazprom Bank as its preferred investor to resuscitate its gas-to-liquid fuel refinery in Mossel Bay. That decision comes despite the threat of secondary sanctions from the U.S., which frequently punishes countries and companies outside U.S. jurisdiction for doing business with entities under U.S. primary sanctions. Well, Minister in the Presidency, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, announced Monday the cabinet had endorsed the decision, and it said that Gazprom will invest on a risk and benefit share basis. Of course, Petro SA would have done a risk assessment regarding sanctions. South Africa is not the first country with ties to Gazprom or Russian companies. India procures oil from Russia. EU has ties to Russia, and even the U.S. has ties to Russia. There have been exemptions from U.S. sanctions. Cabinet considered fundamentals the investment in the country and the benefits of lowering the fuel price. Yeah, and how much money they could grift off of the deal. Wow. Google Maps does not take people through that area any longer, Benjamin Labuschagne. They ended that after the murder of a British physician. They stopped that. So you will not get that from Google, but Apple still takes people through there. The Anti-Graft Summit in South Africa. Yeah, isn't that funny? South Africa's leaders, anti-graft, they are the primary examples of kleptocracy. Anti-Graft Summit, intensity of fighting apartheid must be harnessed to fight the scourge of South African corruption. No, it's ANC corruption that we must fight. African National Congress corruption there, Paul Mashatile. Your corruption is what must stamp out. Yep, at an International Anti-Corruption Day summit in Pretoria, Lord Hayne proposed measures to prevent future state capture, including the new International Anti-Corruption Court. One of the ways in which corruption can be eradicated in South Africa is to use the same intensity used to fight the oppressive apartheid regime, or the country will turn into a failed state. Here's the newsflash for you, ladies and gentlemen. South Africa is a failed state, and it's too late to fight corruption. Corruption has won the day. It is time to arrest, prosecute, and imprison the offenders. More than 20 people injured in a Sandton bus crash. According to Emergency Med spokesperson Kyle van Reenen, they arrived at the scene. They found a municipal passenger bus lying on its side. An on-scene triage area was established by incident commanders. The injured commuters were treated and stabilized on scene before being taken to various nearby hospitals for further care. On Saturday, 16 people were injured when a minibus rolled on the M4 Ruth First Highway near the Virginia Airport in Durban. Wow. Meanwhile, in Mpumalanga on Friday, 7 people were killed and 50 others, including the driver, were injured when the bus they were traveling in veered off the road on the Long Tom Pass before plunging down a cliff. My goodness, what is going on with these public transports in South Africa? Dangerous indeed. Probably unlicensed, inexperienced people driving these things, be my guess. Let's see what the investigation bears out. Denel, the state-owned corporation which is failing, has got a new CEO. Denel has a new CEO as Shepo Monaheng takes over from another state-owned entity. State arms manufacturer Denel has a new boss after the appointment of Shepo Monaheng as a new CEO. Monaheng is currently CEO of state-owned forestry company, Safcol, and Minister of Public Enterprises Pravin Gordhan said on Friday that Monaheng will take over Denel after he's completed his commitments at Safcol. Denel over the past year has been struggling to stay afloat and is one of the entities that has received billions of rand in bailouts from the ANC. About a boar. Now, this is an interesting story. I hadn't talked about it, and I haven't reached out to the people whom I know who might know more about it. But apparently, the Bitter Enders got involved in an incident. Francois van der Merwe, who was apparently a director of the Bitter Enders, got in a fight in which he broke a bottle over a customer's head. Prominent bitter ender involved in brandy bottle assault at Steve Hofmeyer gig. Francois van der Merwe, the director of the group, appeared at the Pretoria Magistrates Court on Wednesday after he allegedly used a 750 milliliter bottle of Richelieu brandy to hit a man over the head. He's charged with assault with intent to cause grievous bodily harm, released on 1,000 rand bail. He did not respond to calls and WhatsApp messages from News 24 that they've been trying since Thursday. It's occurred in the early morning hours of December 1st at Felly's Bar and Grill, where Steve Hofmeyer had performed. The complainant, who asked not to be named, told News 24 that Van der Merwe joined their table shortly after moving inside the bar to watch the show. He said, I didn't know who he was, but he came to sit across from me at the table. I was talking to my friends, and he greeted me. We started chatting. He told me he was part of the Bitter Enders group. So he asked Van der Merwe how one could become part of Bitter Enders. Van der Merwe responded that he needed to be a Boer to join. The man asked how I could be classified as a Boer to be part of the group. He couldn't answer me, and I told him I was South African because I was born here. I further asked him how he could be part of the group if I first needed to be classified as a Boer to join the group. He got angry, and for some reason he called me a P.O.s and said he would no longer talk to me. Then they got in a verbal altercation, and apparently he smacked the bottle of Richelieu over the man's head. Ooh, not good, not good, not good, not good. Well, apparently Eddie Jones is, in fact, likely going to be the next head coach of Japan Rugby. Former England and Australia boss Eddie Jones reportedly set to be named as Japan's head coach for a second time, despite denying links to the job for several months. Jamie Josephs confirmed in July that he'll be stepping down from his role in Japan, opening the door for speculation about who would succeed him. Jones emerged as the top candidate, and reports are that he is not going to take it. Well, now apparently Eddie Jones looks like he's going to become the next head coach of Japan. Gazans are frustrated at the pummeling that they're receiving courtesy of Hamas. Say hunger is causing social breakdown, fueling fears of exodus into Egypt. Hamas said it was striking back against Israeli forces across Gaza Monday, and Palestinians and international relief agencies said public order was disintegrating as hunger spread, fueling fears of mass exodus to Egypt. Most of Gaza's 2.3 million people have been driven from their homes, and residents say it's impossible to find refuge or increasingly food in the densely populated enclave where about 18,000 people have already been killed and conflict is intensifying. Wow. Well, it's not pretty in Gaza. Hamas has now threatened to kill all remaining living hostages whom they kidnapped in their crimes against humanity on the 7th of October. Hamas on Sunday threatened to kill all remaining hostages if demands such as more aid for Gaza and prison exchange are not met after suffering repeated losses in a battle with Israel. Well, John Jarvis, thank you for your membership. And thank you for upgrading to platoon level there, John. Platoon leader. Thank you, John. They say in the Anglo-Saxon world outside the U.S., platoon commander. So take it the same. Platoon leader, platoon commander, same thing. Palestinian terror group is holding the bodies of 20 hostages who've died in captivity, including that gentleman right there. 25-year-old Israeli hostage died after being held for 2 months by Hamas. Abu Obeida, spokesman for Hamas's armed wing, claimed Sunday that not another single kidnapped victim will leave Gaza alive unless Israel agrees to all its demands in negotiations that broke down at the beginning of November. The ultimatum came as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that of the 137 hostages believed to still be in custody, 20 are dead. More than 100 were freed in an aid and prisoner pact last month. Hamas previously accused Israel of killing hostages during its relentless airstrikes. Israel slammed the claims as propaganda and has accused the terror group of stooping so low as to even refuse to hand over the bodies of its dead. Wow. What a mess. Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny is missing from prison. Man sentenced to 19 years in prison by the corrupt Putin regime. Lawyers for Alexei Navalny said Monday they've lost contact with the opposition leader who is believed to be imprisoned in a penal colony 150 miles east of Moscow, and his whereabouts are unknown. He'd been sentenced to 19 years in prison back in August when he's found guilty of creating an extremist community, financing extremist activities, and numerous other crimes. He was already serving sentences of 11 and 11.5 years from maximum security facility on fraud and other charges he denies. Yeah. So they can't find him. So he's probably been executed. We'll see what happens there. Well, the Europeans continue to show their disdain for peace as Rutte, the Dutch Prime Minister, seeks another $5 billion to fuel the Ukraine war. Crucial military aid for Kiev has stalled in Washington and Brussels, with good reason. EU leaders should back Ukraine with significant military financing this week to avoid a double block to support Kiev on both sides of the Atlantic, says Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte. With the problems in the United States where the fresh money is blocked, it's quite critical that we don't have a double block against Ukraine. U.S. Congress is deadlocked over giving money to the grifter-in-chief Volodymyr Zelensky so he can pocket it instead of prosecuting his war to get Ukrainian men and women, children killed. French immigration bill is causing uproar. Criminal alien invaders demanding the French do what they tell them to do. And here's the message I have for you. Get out. You have no business in France. You have no right to be in France. Stop your whining. You're paying taxes? No, you shouldn't be paying taxes. You should be back wherever you slipped in the country from. If you want to become a migrant to France, there are ways to do it. You apply to go there, and then you go there and you present genuine bona fides. You don't slip in the country as a criminal alien invader and then demand that the country practice this and impose Sharia and build mosque and build ethnic enclave for you. No. President Emmanuel Macron wants to reform immigration law with stricter deportation measures, but migrants and refugees in France protesting against the reform say the severity of the new measures is unprecedented. Well, too bad there. Amada Sibi, a Malian migrant, has been vocal about criticism of France's planned immigration reform. Thousands of people marched in the streets near Montparnasse train station in southern Paris on a recent Sunday. They were holding signs proclaiming their opposition to the Darmanin law, named after France's Interior Minister Gerard Darmanin. Other placards said immigration is not a problem, racism. No. You have no business in France. You're criminal alien invaders who violated the territorial sovereignty of France, and you're demanding that you get to stay. And because you're being told to leave, you're claiming that people telling you to leave are racist. No, you're not. You're not going to get away with that. We're not going to fall for it. It's not racist to tell people who have no right to be where they're at to get out. 33-year-old Malian arrived in France 5 years ago, benefiting from a legal loophole. He's been using other people's papers to work as a cleaner, a chambermaid, and a dishwasher. He said most of us undocumented immigrants are using this method, but it means we're paying social insurance fees and taxes without benefiting from services such as regular public health care like French citizens. He told Deutsche Welle, then get out! Go home! Take your sorry ass back to Mali and work there. Oh, wait, your country's broken because you've allowed it to fall into the hands of military junta. And you come to France, and because people don't give you what you demand, you call them racist. Futsec, get out. Nonsense. Out. Meanwhile, alarm is growing over weakened militaries. European militaries are a joke. We could take them down with a crowd of anti-Israeli, anti-Semitic, Palestinian protesters. Would be able to take down European militaries at this stage. Things are so bad. Alarm grows over weakened militaries and empty arsenals in Europe. The British military, the leading U.S. military ally and Europe's biggest defense spender, has only 150 deployable tanks and maybe a dozen serviceable long-range artillery pieces. So bare was the cupboard last year, the British military considered sourcing multiple rocket launchers from museums to donate to Ukraine. France says the next biggest spender has fewer than 90 artillery pieces, equivalent to what Russia is losing every month on the Ukrainian battlefield. Denmark has no heavy artillery, no submarines, or air defense system. Germany's army has enough ammunition for 2 days of battle. 2 days of battle. In the decade since the end of the Cold War, the weakened European armies were tolerated by governments across the West because it engaged America with its vast military muscle underpinned the North Atlantic Treaty Alliance and defense policy in Europe. The U.S. accounted for nearly 70% of NATO's defense spending last year. And Donald Trump was called radical for demanding that these deadbeats pay 2% of their GDP towards their military capability. But Donald Trump was the evil guy. These deadbeat, lazy, useless freaking Europeans who hand out social money to everybody and then put their nose down staring at, well, look at you. You don't have a social welfare state. No, because we're covering your backside, you lazy little shits. You don't provide your own defense in Europe. We provide it. We provide it. 80 years after the Second World War, we're still covering your backside. How about you step up and have an actual military defense deterrence capability instead of spending the money elsewhere? And letting the American taxpayer carry the burden for your failures. Germany, France, UK, Denmark, Netherlands. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But now that America's more isolationist, now they care. Now they're suddenly concerned. Now it matters. Now the Europeans actually have to pay attention to their own defense. Well, it's about damn time, and Donald Trump told you to do it. Hey, speaking of your own defense, 5,000 criminal alien invaders violate our sovereignty and get into this country and are released by corrupt Biden regime officials every single day. 5,000 criminal aliens. We don't know the provenance of these people. We have no genuine documentation on them, and they are let loose in our cities, dumped in our states, and they are bifurcating and dividing this society. They have no business being here. It is time to end this clown car show, stop the border invasion on the north and south, and start deporting criminal alien invaders back to their ports of origin. Get them out of here. 5,000 per day this corrupt regime is dumping in our neighborhoods. 5,000. That's 1.8 million this year. 5,000 illegal immigrants released every day, administration officials privately tell lawmakers. Total illegal immigrants released could be over 1.8 million for the year if the pace continues. The Biden regime has told lawmakers an average of 5,000 criminal alien invaders are currently being released into the U.S. every day at the border. There are over 670,000 who evaded Border Patrol on top of that. Wow. Meanwhile, an average of 1,600 migrants are being processed and released via the use of humanitarian parole every day under an app that they use, the Customs and Border Patrol app. Another 1,600 criminal alien invaders. These are not migrants. These are not immigrants. These are criminals who violate our sovereignty. Get out, get out, get out, get out. Well, remember all the nonsense about Arizona, about Katie Hobbs and her opponent? Yeah. And how that race and all that was going on. Well, look at this. Here's a comeuppance for the Democrats. The Arizona governor demands $512 million reimbursement from the criminal Biden regime for the security failures at the border. The federal government ordered the state's Lukeville port of entry on the border of Mexico closed this week. In a letter to President Biden on Friday, Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs expressed her frustration and concern about the administration's response to the southern border. Today, I sent the letter to President Biden calling on him to reassign National Guard members to assist in its reopening, as well as repurpose the $512,529,333 federal border inaction has cost us. In a letter to Biden, Hobbs said that the federal government's failure to secure Arizona's border emphasizes moving forward. The state of Arizona regularly seek reimbursement from the federal government. That's just a tip of the iceberg. Never mind what's happening in our communities here in Harrisburg, in Albany, in Tallahassee, as these criminal alien invaders are dumped in our midst by a corrupt regime that is destroying this country. You know, they keep talking about Donald Trump being the greatest threat to democracy and to America. That is not Donald Trump. That is the Biden regime and its corrupt officials. That's who the threat is. University of Pennsylvania's snarky anti-Semitic president has resigned. 1 down, 2 to go. UPenn President Liz McGill, the tone-deaf anti-Semite, and board chair Scott Bach resigned after a disastrous hearing on anti-Semitism. In a stunning downfall for the leader of the world's most prestigious universities, Liz McGill, president of the University of Pennsylvania, voluntarily stepped down from the helm of the Ivy League school on Saturday following a torrent of criticism for her testimony about anti-Semitism on Capitol Hill last Tuesday. It's been my privilege to serve as president of this remarkable institution. Yada, yada, wah, 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 wah. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear it. Take your nonsense away. You've allowed Jews to be assaulted on campus. You've allowed Jews to be insulted on campus. You've allowed racists and bigots to call for the extermination of Jews on UPenn, at Harvard, and MIT, and all these disgusting, fraudulent Ivy League schools which have billions of dollars in endowments. Stop all federal funding to these criminal anti-Semites now. It's funny, the left was very excited about anti-Semitism when a white man killed people at a Pittsburgh mosque, and they should have been upset about it. But they're silent now that scumbag, anti-Semite, Jew-hating, Christian-hating turds all over this country protesting, including here in Harrisburg over the weekend. It's a good thing I didn't know about it. Good thing I didn't know about it. Over 500 Harvard faculty members support university president in a letter to the board after anti-Semitism hearing. And those 500 Harvard faculty members need to be fired forthwith. More than 500 corrupt Harvard faculty members supported University President Claudine Gay in a letter to the school's board on Sunday following intense blowback from her pathetic performance in front of the Congress. The Harvard Corporation, Harvard Board of Overseers, the university's second highest governing body, met Sunday amid mounting pressure from donors and lawmakers to remove her. They also scheduled to meet again today. According to the Harvard Crimson, the Harvard Corporation is weighing whether to make a public statement in support of her. In support of her. Well, there you go. Another racist, race-hustling anti-Semite, and that's what Harvard wants to support. She needs to go. The board needs to go. You all need to go. You want the truth. You can't handle the truth. That's the bottom line here, ladies and gentlemen. That's the bottom line here. At least 6 people confirmed dead, dozens injured in a tornado striking Tennessee. Scary stuff. At least 6 people have been killed as tornadoes and strong thunderstorms moved across the state on Saturday. We have teams assessing damage and looking for patience, the National Office of Emergency Management said on Twitter. Storm front crossed over the state of emergency. The city of Clarksville declared an emergency Saturday night, Mayor Joe Pitts announced. There you go. Look at that. Oof. Car is buried under rubble on Main Street in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Hurricanes, man. Scary stuff. I've been around when the funnel clouds start to form. It's pretty scary. The Environmental Protection Agency is covering for the Biden regime's corruption. Once again, no surprise here, ladies and gentlemen. EPA shielding how groups spent Biden's cash bonanza for environmental justice. Environmental justice. The Environmental Protection Agency is keeping Congress in the dark about how millions of dollars from Biden's Rona-19 stimulus spending were doled out to environmental justice efforts. Now the EPA's government watchdog may get involved. Senator Chuck Grassley, Republican of Iowa, on a Senate Budget Committee requested the EPA's Inspector General open an investigation. He said the agency spent the past 8 months running interference against attempts to uncover how organizations spent $4.3 million on environmental justice projects. I warned 3 years ago that Democrats' partisan American Rescue Plan was a left-wing wish list disguised as COVID relief, Mr. Grassley told the Times. Now the agency is trying to shut the door on legitimate congressional oversight by putting a muzzle on the recipients of taxpayer-funded grants. And this is illegal, and they need to be called to account for it. A Texas Supreme Court has halted a pro-abortion order by lower court. The Texas Supreme Court has temporarily blocked a pregnant woman from getting an emergency abortion. A lower court decision in a lawsuit by a pregnant woman seeking court-authorized abortion, with the move blocking her ability to terminate the pregnancy in Texas. She can go next door. The Texas Supreme Court on Friday temporarily halted the order. The High Court's December 9th decision came after District Court a day earlier granted a request to emergency abortion, a lawsuit brought by Kate Cox, a woman who's 20 weeks pregnant and whose unborn baby was diagnosed with trisomy 18, a condition that causes multiple structural abnormalities that doctors say gave it no chance of survival after birth. But the Texas court has weighed in on that. Hundreds rally in Harrisburg to commit genocide against Jews. Hundreds rally in Harrisburg for state leaders call for a ceasefire, which will equate to genocide for Jews. A rally to demand a ceasefire happened at 1 p.m. in Harrisburg on Sunday. Hundreds of people from across the state attended to demand Senator Casey, Senator Fetterman, and Governor Shapiro support a ceasefire in Gaza and support Palestinians in Pennsylvania. Why are supporting Palestinians in Pennsylvania? Why aren't Palestinians in Palestine? Why are they in Pennsylvania? Visual representation of thousands of kids killed because of the ongoing war. Those who were in attendance said enough was enough. Any visual representation of the 1,200 Israelis executed, gang raped, murdered, burned, cooked alive in microwaves and ovens, and their homes burned down. No representation of that. It's a human issue, human rights issue, equality and justice for everybody in this country, said Collins. No, it's not. It's an issue for Israel and Gaza, not for us. It's so important for Jews to be here, for folks to know Jewish people are for Palestinian liberation. Palestinians don't want liberation, much like the EFF doesn't want to rule South Africa. They just simply want to cart from the sidelines and live in Dubai while Palestinians pay their fare. That's what the Palestinian leadership wants. Well, in order to handle the surge in criminal alien invasions, the border officials have shut down legitimate crossing because they have no staff. Many people in the tiny town of Wyatt, Arizona, Stephanie Ferrero's life revolves around nearby border crossings. She works at a roadside cafe serving enchiladas to American tourists who pass through on their way to beach resorts in Mexico. Her husband's a Mexican citizen. He lives on the other side. That link was severed on December 1st when U.S. border officials closed the port of entry in Lukeville to cope with the influx of thousands of criminal aliens who've been camping out in a rugged patch of desert along the border wall. It has created a split-screen crisis. Legal people cannot cross the border. 3,000 people, legitimate business on both sides of the border, who have the documentation, who have the provenance, who follow the laws of both countries and do not violate their sovereignty, but travel, can no longer travel in this remote border location because of criminal alien invaders and the focus that the government has put on them. Tucker Carlson is launching his own streaming service. Who cares? I'm sure some of you do. I don't. Not for $9 a month. I'm not paying Tucker Carlson $9 a month for him to tell me what he thinks is important. Tucker Carlson's network went live and cost $9 a month. He launched his own subscription service, the former Fox News host's official foray into paid content after months of posting videos on X. The service, the Tucker Carlson Network, went live on Monday with multiple shows, including interviews, short-form videos, and monologues, but none of us are on it. His logo resembles a red pill, and it costs $9 a month or $72 for a year. It will initially be solely available through Carlson's website. Some of the content is available without a subscription and will be ad-supported, while some interviews and monologues will be available exclusively to subscribers who have access to that content without ads. Yeah, well, good luck to Tucker Carlson, the world's most engaging journalist, but not paying him. No thanks. If he offers me a show on there, maybe I'll pay him. Alex Jones, conspiracy theorist, as they like to call him, the guy who predicted things 20 years ago, which have all come true. They've all come true. Social credit scores, cryptocurrency, shutting down people's accounts. All of this are things Alex Jones predicted 20 years ago. I paid no attention to him. He seemed like a bit of a loon, but they shut him down on Twitter, and he's back. He's back. Alex Jones, conspiracy theorist, returns to X with Andrew Tate repost. Oh, that's going to torque people off. Tate's message praised both Jones and X owner Elon Musk, claiming, "We're back." His account was reinstated after a poll by Musk with 70% of 2 million respondents voting to lift the ban. He is notorious for falsely claiming the 2012 Sandy Hook school shooting was staged. He's ordered to pay $1.5 billion in damages in a ridiculous lawsuit to family members of the victims. Wow. He was banned from Twitter back in 2018 for breaching the rules on abusive behavior. Yet the people who attack me and call me all kinds of names on Twitter are not ever punished. The people who are constantly lying on Twitter are not punished, and they never were punished under the rightists or the leftists who are running the place. Well, a pro-Palestinian New York University student says, that's what she says. She was suspended, lost her scholarship after tearing down posters of Israeli hostages. There's an image of the young lady. A student at New York University was apparently suspended and lost her scholarship after it was discovered she'd taken down posters featuring Israeli hostages who'd been abducted. She was also denied campus housing until fall 2024. Hafiza Khalik spoke to Breakthrough News, saying that because I was suspended, I would have to move off campus after the semester, essentially kicking me out of the dorms, leaving me unhoused. Hafiza, the term is homeless. Homeless. Abrilos, homeless. Not unhoused. Deny me access to any higher education until fall 2024. Well, you don't deserve access to it. You're a vile, repulsive human being. Business Insider reported that she was suspended November 13th after a video went viral on social media of her tearing down posters of missing Israelis. She blamed right-wing news outlets for apparently showing the footage, which ultimately led to her suspension. I'm sorry, were the right-wing news outlets responsible for your heinous behavior and ripping down the posters? No, only you were, you anti-Semite. Only you were the anti-Semite. Yep. Well, anti-Semites pay a price for their behavior again in California. Remember the coffee shop I reported on a few days ago where they refused to allow a woman to use the bathroom who was Jewish? She went into the bathroom and found racist and anti-Semitic garbage spewed all over the bathroom. And she tried to tell the staff, and they're basically evil, nasty anti-Semites, white people at that, and Asians. Well, they've got their comeuppance. They've been sacked. I'd be happy to offer my services to Tucker, John Jarvis. I'd be happy to be on there. But how do I get hold of Tucker? You tell me. California coffee shop fires anti-Semitic employees who blocked Jewish customer from using bathroom, including that vile little Asian scumbag right there. 3 employees at a California coffee shop who were seen blocking a Jewish woman for using the bathroom while making anti-Israel comments in a now viral video are out of a job. Amy and Chris Hillier, the owners of Farley's East in Oakland, posted on social media Sunday that the employees seeing the video berating customers was shocking and unacceptable and are now jobless. We do not tolerate any behavior at Farley's that makes people feel unwelcome or unsafe. Because this act was not aligned with our values, employees involved are no longer employed. Events like this strike fear in the Jewish community and perpetrate the rise of anti-Semitism in our community and around the world. We can and must do better. This starts with us creating a safe space. And so they fire them. There's 2 of them right there. And there's the most vile of them all. I know Israel loves taking private property and saying it's their own. What a scumbag. What a disgusting, vile piece of human sludge. These are Gen X, Gen Ys, millennials who have been indoctrinated with America-hating vile, and disgusting nonsense who know nothing about the world and spew their hatred and impinge on the lives of others. And they've been fired. And I hope they remain unemployable. And if they love Palestinian cause so much, they should move to Gaza or the West Bank and support Palestinians instead of just running their mouth and attacking Jews in America. Bathroom Nazis, exactly right. Harvard is swarmed by truck billboards calling for the resignation of its disgusting president, Gay. Penn, Harvard, and MIT presidents grilled by Congress and refused to answer questions. Billboard trucks demanding Harvard's president, Claudine Gay, be fired were deployed on Sunday, Fox News learned, just days after controversial remarks. Fire Gay, the privately funded trucks read, accompanied by photos of Gay while she appeared before Congress last Tuesday. One of the trucks is circling campus, the other is positioned at school's main gate and blaring Gay's exchange with Republican New York Representative Elise Stefanik on Tuesday. The private funder running the billboard box truck campaign will also deploy a plane over campus this week with a banner reading, Harvard, Stop Jew Hatred. Indeed, more power to them. This is freedom of expression. They're allowed to do this, as long as they don't violate noise laws. Steven Spielberg, one of the most famous Jews in the world, silent on the crimes against humanity and the terroristic actions of Hamas for 2 months, finally gets guilted into making a documentary about what happened. In his first public remarks about the October 7th terror attack, legendary filmmaker Steven Spielberg expressed shock over the unspeakable barbarity that occurred. I never imagined I would see such unspeakable barbarity against Jews in my lifetime, he said. According to the Jerusalem Post, the foundation has begun collecting testimonies and accounts from survivors of the October 7th attacks as part of their Countering Anti-Semitism Through Testimony collection initiative. Rob Williams, the team at USC Shoah Foundation, are leading an effort that will ensure that the voices of survivors will act as a powerful tool to counter the dangerous rise of anti-Semitism. But he will be making a film. Now, this is a letter sent to him on November 2nd from the Holocaust Survivors Foundation, the USA, an open letter to Steven Spielberg. Dear Mr. Spielberg, I'm David Schechter, the president of the Holocaust Survivors Foundation, the only organization that's solely run by survivors for the benefit of survivors. I'm 94 years old and the only member of 105 souls in my family to survive the Holocaust. I miraculously survived 4 years in the hells of Auschwitz and Buchenwald. My sainted brother, who saved my life more times than I can count, died in my arms days before the war ended. I have admired your career and especially your work to tell the world about the horrors of the Holocaust in film and in helping to document the experiences of tens of thousands of survivors. This is why I, along with the countless other survivors, are so heartbroken that since October 7th, you've not spoken out and publicly taken a stand against terrorism, against Hamas, against the millions who celebrate the shedding of Jewish blood and want more. With all my heart, I encourage you to speak out for the children, women, and men kidnapped, held hostage, and in support of Israel and Israel's right to defend itself. Wasn't the entire purpose of recording 50,000 testimonies of our fellow survivors to make sure the world would never be able to deny and must never forget the Nazi systemic murder of 6 million Jews, including 1.5 million children? On October 7th, Hamas committed the worst atrocity against Jewish people since the Holocaust. As one Jewish woman whose sister and nieces are living in the bomb shelter and brother-in-laws in the Gaza border wrote recently, never again is now. We who personally witnessed the horrors of the Holocaust never thought we would ever again see atrocities like those committed on October 7th. The murder and mutilation of innocent babies and children, the savage rape of women and the elderly, and the massacre of entire families. We personally saw the world stand silent as our mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, grandmothers, aunts, uncles, and cousins were murdered. We actually had nowhere to go, no possible place of refuge. No country would accept us, even though world leaders knew full well that thousands of Jews were being murdered every day. There was no Jewish nation to which we could flee. Today, we not only see much of the world again remain silent, we must see mass demonstrations in many cities and countless posts on social media supporting Hamas, a barbaric terrorist organization. We see the mainstream media slanting coverage to suggest moral equivalency between Hamas's unspeakable atrocities against innocent Israelis and Israel's right to self-defense against terrorists who use Palestinian children as human shields. The echo chamber who blames Israel for Hamas's brutal murders because of occupation never acknowledged the Palestinian leaders have rejected repeated offers of statehood, choosing war and terror instead. You know the history, and we need your voice not to allow these distortions to persist. We also see a number of Hollywood and public figures publicly standing against Israel, falsely accusing it of genocide and saying nothing about the stated goal of Hamas to murder all Jews in Israel and around the globe. These so-called progressives, including some Jewish people that justify and rationalize cold-blooded murder of Jews in the 21st century, should be ashamed of their hypocrisy and moral cowardice. We have thankfully seen and salute some celebrities, among them Amy Schumer, Gal Gadot, Jerry Seinfeld, Madonna, Jordan Peele, Juliana Margulies, Mayim Bialik, Helen Mirren, Quentin Tarantino, Brooke, and it goes through a whole list. Yet their numbers are far too few. Mr. Spielberg, Schindler's List was about one man having the moral courage to risk his life to save others. We're not asking you to risk your life. We're asking you to use your voice. Take it from those of us who were subjected to the most brutal and deadly anti-Semitic of all time. Anti-Semitism all the time. It will never go away, and Jews will never be safe until Israel is safe and secure. As a premier Jewish filmmaker in the world, your silence now is a comfort to our enemies. Your full-throated support for Israel and the Jewish people at this moment would make a real difference, not only for our people, but for the world. We do not need another film in 3 years about the horrors of October 7th. Instead, we need you and others to speak out now when it truly matters. David Schechter, President, joined by the Committee Holocaust Foundation, USA Executive Committee. Well said, David Schechter. And shame on Steven Spielberg for his 2 months of silence. This is how Hollywood celebrities tolerate anti-Semitism. And congrats to those Hollywood celebrities who have actually spoken out, like many, like Patricia Heaton and others, who've spoken out against this barbarity and stopping the moral equivalency. Holiday shoppers have been warned of gift card scam as a gentleman walks into a Target and pulls all the cards off of the gift card shelf, Apple and Target cards, and replaces them. Why did he do that? He scratched off the numbers, copied them down, and the moment you load money into gift cards to give to someone, it goes to his bank in China. Yep. Sacramento County Sheriff's Office is warning the public of a disturbing and very sophisticated gift card scam that has national and international implications. The Sheriff's Office told Fox News this week it carried out a massive anti-retail theft operation at big box stores across the country, netting 285 felony and misdemeanor arrests in 7 days. Among those arrested was a Chinese national found to be in possession of thousands of Target and Apple gift cards. During a recent retail theft operation, Bad Elf, detectives observed an individual later identified as Nging Sun acting suspiciously near the gift cards in the payment aisles of a Sacramento Target store, said the sheriff's office. The office said investigators witnessed Sun take all the gift cards off the rack and put them inside his jacket. Authorities said the suspect then replaced the missing cards with another set of seemingly identical cards. Members of the sheriff's office followed the suspect outside where recently published footage shows detectives surrounding the man to make an arrest. The investigation revealed Sun was part of a scam that tampered with gift cards, scanned the barcode, and stole money from the gift card as money was loaded on them. Victims were completely unaware of what was happening, and the money was often siphoned to an offshore bank account within seconds. Their investigation revealed that the operation spanned across California and several regions nationwide. After the tampered cards were returned to shelves, unsuspecting shoppers would purchase one of the cards, load funds onto it. The money, however, would immediately transfer to a bank account, in this case, a Chinese bank account. It's going unreported because you're going to confront. Who's going to confront someone who gave them a $0 gift card? No, that's rude. And then you're sitting there fat, dumb, and happy thinking, oh, I did something nice for somebody, not knowing that your money is gone. Wow, what a sophisticated scam. What a sophisticated scam. What a bunch of nasty, nasty individuals. Well, folks, that's the news for today. We got, 88 people currently here, 73 likes. That means 15 of you are getting a free ride. Hit that like button. Costs you nothing but a moment of your time. Merry Christmas. And now it's time to get to the Advent calendar. I haven't gotten to it. Someone might have mentioned it. We are 3 days behind because of rugby coverage. By the way, South African sides won 4 of 5 Challenge and Champion Cup contests. The only game they didn't win was the game that was squandered and given away by the foolish decision of the Stormers to try a scrum 5 meters out instead of taking the line out or kicking the points. And as a consequence, they gave the ball right back to Leicester. Leicester moved down there courtesy of penalties they made, and they scored a try, which not only cost the Stormers a victory, it also cost them a losing bonus point because in finishing less than 7 points, they finished well beyond that, and it gave Leicester a bonus point for an extra 4th try. But now let's talk about the 9th of December. This one here. Okay, and what do we got here? We got a house. Here, emergency vehicles. Are they coming through the neighborhood again for that Santa thing? We did that yesterday. That's the 9th, and the 10th and 11th. 10th and 11th are down here. Here's the 10th. And this one is, I don't know what that is. What is that? It looks like a piper or something like that. That's that one there. And today is the 11th. Let's go with the 11th of December. Just 14 days to Christmas, folks. 2 weeks from today. Christmas is on a Monday. That sucks. I didn't realize that. And this one is a carol, a little kid out there caroling. So there's our 3 pieces of chocolate for the last 3 days, which we missed. I keep hearing emergency sounds out here. Welcome back, folks. Let me see who's in the chat and see what I missed here. Okay. Let's go back here a little bit. All right. Where's the timestamps here, man? Give me my timestamps. There we go. All right. So Dan Hook is here. Hey, Dan. See you there. And what else we got there? Benjamin Lava Scott, can't believe. Oh, yeah, I already read that. Okay. Sedgefield's back. Good to see Sedgefield. Frederick Rasmus, of course. Loudy Monday's here. Welcome, Loudy. Good to see you. Charles says taxis driving recklessly. M4 by Virginia example. That, yeah, I'm with you on that. 100%. And then John Jarvis upgraded his membership to platoon leader. Thank you so much for that. Or in his parlance, platoon commander. Myra Page is here. Myra, welcome to you. Patrick W. How can it be a negotiation if Israel has to agree to all demands? Exactly. It's not a negotiation. It's an ultimatum. Yep. Please drop a like if you're content with the day so far. Well, thank you for that, Patrick. Opposition leader missing in Moscow. Yeah, well, he's not in Moscow. He's in a prison east of Moscow. They should all get one-way tickets back to Mali. Exactly, says Bebop. Yep. Is it corrupt Putin regime any worse than the corrupt DC? I don't know. They're pretty bad too. Little Bit Stonewall says, can anyone help me with this? Apartheid means segregation. Yeah, NCC News. No, it does not. Apartheid does not mean segregation. Apartheid means separateness. The political doctrine of apartheid means separate development. Essentially, it's akin to the U.S. corrupt doctrine of separate but equal, which was determined by the Plessy versus Ferguson Supreme Court decision of 1896, in which a passenger on a streetcar in New Orleans filed a lawsuit because he was refused service. And the Supreme Court, in that landmark decision, said that we could have separate accommodations for black and white people provided that they were equal. Of course, there were separate accommodations, but they were never equal. And apartheid, or separate development, was meant to be separate development so that Afrikaners could develop their own, English speakers develop their own, Xhosa, Venda, Tswana, and so on to develop on their own. But of course, it was never fair, and that morphed into racial and racist legislation like anti-miscegenation, which prevented sexual relations between whites and blacks and others, and also pass laws and property defrauding, so many different things. It morphed into racist action meant to suppress the black population. But apartheid itself does not mean that. It's an abomination misuse of the word. I'm not saying it was a good policy. I'm just saying that the truth of the policy is different than what is presented. Football culture makes them believe they're all... Yeah, football culture is bad. So you shouldn't be confused there, Little Miss Know-It-All. What else? It's crazy that a French football team looks like a Mali or Guinea team. Yeah, there are no white French players on the French national side. It looks like a West African side. They cost American taxpayers $451 billion a year, according to a recent mainstream report. I'm surprised it's allowed to air. Yeah, I'm shocked they said that. I'm sure it's $451 billion a year is probably accurate. This criminal alienators, the all-seeing guy. Yep, and who else we got here? Sedgefield, Bebop. The Dems don't care about Border Patrol. They care about power, benefits, and their salaries. Morally corrupt, and many Republicans as well, Bebop. You are correct. People like Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan, the senator from Utah that Courtney loves so much. Yep, there must be something serious going on here. Lots of sirens going on, but they're not here. They're nearby. Amazing video from that tornado where it caused an explosion. I saw that video, Light Rain. It blew up. I don't know if that was a refinery or what it was, but I did see that the tornado blew up a site. And Courtney's here from the Wyatt Family Farm. Welcome to you. Who else we got there? Yeah, and John's saying I should contact Tucker. Well, if somebody's got some contact from him. Annette Kolb is here. Currently thunderstorms. Ooh, you need some rain there. Okay. The hostage poster campaign was good marketing. It brought attention to the issue, baited people into ripping them down. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It was very smart. Yep. Hollywood, super woke, only same person as James Woods. James Woods is very, very, very normal, but so is Kelsey Grammer. Chris, did you see the news on Dave Chappelle and his latest show? He went on a 20-minute rant because of grandmas and Jewish people feeling scared, unsafe. No, I didn't see that, Annette. What did he say? Surprised there are still any left. No bathroom for you. Yep, that was a reference to the soup Nazi. Exactly. No bathroom for you. Yeah, Hamas didn't get the human shields. Yep. Remember all those movies about gulags and horror communism? Me neither. According to Hollywood, the only atrocity is the Holocaust. No, it's not the only atrocity. Pol Pot, the Armenian genocide, Rwanda, 1994, plus the previous attempts in the 50s and 60s. The list goes on and on and on. The Holodomor in the Ukraine. Have you watched Lady Ballers yet? No, I haven't. It was a good one. Did you see Kramer's, what was that? Something jumped there on me. I'll get back to share and subscribe. What else you got here? These guys don't miss a trick. Their crooks are sharp and never get the money back. Makes you feel sick. So, yeah, they are clever. Seinfeld was one of the 3 channels that live in Philadelphia. Yeah, there you go. Win a president. Okay, folks, I've got to step aside for a second and check on that. So give me a second. I'm going to play music for you guys real quick. Play Dean Chance here real quick. Be right back.
This world's a little crazy, just look around and see. But I believe someone is watching over you and me, because I know he loves his children and he's Lord of everything. So I'll sing this song for him. God bless the RSA. Victoria down to Cape Town, from sea to shining sea. There's a whole lot of good in the things I've seen, and I got hope and I got faith. I get a little bit more each day. God bless the RSA. My friends love this country, it's so easy to see. We're grounded in this dirt by love and family, and they're dreaming of a future where they are safe and free. So I'll sing this song for them. God bless the RSA. Victoria down to Cape Town, from sea to shining sea. There's a whole lot of good in the things I've seen, and I got hope and I got faith. I get a little bit more each day. God bless the RSA. I know there are good people all across this land, given a chance, take each other's hand and rise up like a rainbow.
Folks, sorry about that. That's actually in my neighborhood. 4 houses down the street, house is on fire. There are at least 5 trucks that have responded to this fire alarm at the moment. Paulie here, we got firefighters responding to this, folks. At least 5 fire trucks out there now, more responding to the scene. I can see smoke coming out the front entrance of the house. I don't believe my neighbors are actually home. He works during the day. He's an elderly gentleman, and there is a fire at the house. Currently, the fire department are responding. Multiple companies from around the area, volunteer fire departments, are on the scene. They've got the hook and ladder up, looking in the second floor to make sure no one's in there. They have not gone in the facility yet, but they've probably gone in the last few minutes. As I said, there's a fire in my neighborhood, just a few houses down the street right now as I speak. Sorry for that interdiction there very quickly with Dean Chancey and cutting it off. But breaking news right here in my neighborhood. So I had to check on that. I see a lot of people disappeared. So, well, let's see who's here. So let me get back here. Bebop says, should I win the presidency? What's the implication for Congress members? Well, you're going to run for president, Bebop Williams? S-Box says, I had a 2-hour-long conversation with retired American professional economics. We learned a lot from each other. Laugh a lot. We're very similar. Well, that's cool. Heavy G, welcome to you. You sound like a rapper, man. Heavy G. The nail in the coffin for South was petty apartheid. Separate development had already been an informal arrangement before the referendum in 61. Yep. Agreed, Fiona. Yep. Petty apartheid did it. That's what did folks in. Yep. John Mosline is back. Hey, John. Kobus van Niekerk is here. Garrett Fici. Who's Fici? Who is Fici? I don't see my name Fici here. And then, is that a nickname? That's not good. Yeah. I was there and lived through it, says Fiona. Separate development was a reality forever until someone decided to give it a new name and check it into law. Yep. Yeah, I took a camera. I took a few pictures, but you can't see any flames, just smoke coming out. Let me see if I've got it here real quick here. This is misfortune for my neighbors. Nice people. Don't really interact with them much, but if you look closely, you'll be able to see the smoke coming out of the door on the side there. I'll zoom in a second, but you can see multiple fire trucks there, and here you go. Here's the smoke coming out of the front door there on their property right there. So this is happening right now, live, just down the street, just 200 meters from my house. No wonder I heard so many fire trucks responding. I meant this, yeah, RFK. Oh, okay. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Okay. Yeah. So as I mentioned, you can see the hook and ladder is also out there. They have firefighters up in the hook and ladder going to the upper levels to check. Yeah, it is awful, folks. Unfortunately, as a child, I lived through home fires, and it's not a very pleasant experience. I hope that there's no serious damage, but any fire causes significant smoke damage and stench you have to deal with. Oh, it's your nickname. Okay, gotcha, Fiona. Got it. Nick, because the idiots that run our country want to run out the countries. Yeah, no, Annette, I think you're right about that. But, yeah, it's smoking in Harrisburg. Indeed it is. Again, fingers crossed that there's no one in the house and everything goes well. By the way, did anybody notice my snowman is back? There you go. There's my snowman. He's back. Got him back up there. Actually, I need to cover up that bottom of that box there. I had something over before she couldn't see that was just a box he's on. Yep. So we got the snowman back for Christmas, and we're back to just 14 days before Christmas right there. Wow. Thanks to everybody tuning in. We were up there for over 80 for a long time there, and then I had to step away. We hit over 70, and yeah, I stayed over 70 for a good hour there. Well, about 45 minutes. So thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Good to see people here again. I think a lot of people are tuning in, hadn't seen the channel in a long time. YouTube suppression's kind of going in sine waves now. Some of the content they promote a little bit, and the rest of it they hide. Some they promote a little bit, the rest of it they hide. We've had a couple decent videos the past few days, one of which has now gone for over 8,000 views. And that was the ANC liquidation video, which I did on Saturday. Does that sound correct? And then I did the Malema's party calling for the renaming removal statues in Nelson Mandela Bay. That one is at 1,700, which is pretty good. Do the neighbors have solar panels? No, they don't have any solar panels. Speaking of solar panels, it's a bright sunny day today. And let's see how we're doing. Yesterday was abysmal for my solar production. Yesterday produced only 1.2 kilowatt hours. And it is now the midday here, and I've already produced 7.88, 4 times as much solar energy today as all of yesterday. And that pales, of course, to a few days ago when we hit 18. But it's been salty cracks December here for sunshine in Pennsylvania, as we've had lots of cloud cover throughout the month. Hopefully, we'll keep getting some sunshine now to juice up those panels and feed it back into the grid to cut my bill. No Christmas box for SACP this year. Yeah, no, exactly, Carlos. Nothing for them. Looks like good service delivery over there. Yeah, we have great service delivery, Heavy G. I pay for my rubbish removal, and the company is pretty good. Only once or twice in the past several years have they not come on time, and then normally they tell us when they're not on time. I think once they had someone that failed to show up for work, and they fired that person, and we never had that problem again. That's a volunteer fire department. We don't have many paid fire departments in smaller communities. They're volunteers who are trained. I'm actually considering becoming a firefighter now. I've talked to a fire chief here about the qualification. It's a very expensive training. So it can be done at a local university, Messiah University, which is just down the road. They do the training. I'm thinking of paying for it myself. Rather than asking the fire department to pay for it. And then, hey, trans-conservative waifu. Oh, my goodness, it has been donkey years since we've seen you. What brought you in today? What brought you in here today? Is it the headline about the U.S. physician who's no longer going to go to South Africa because of the crime? Yeah, so anyway, Snowman, what? I don't know that novel. Anyway, so trans-conservative waifu, man, it's been a long time. Seen you on Ronaldo a few times, but have not seen you here in donkey years. Good to see you once again. Anyway, so my solar panels generated 7.88 kilowatts today, so nearly 8, as opposed to 1.02 yesterday. That's a big difference. And it was 18 a few days ago. So hopefully that's sun, but there have been some intermittent clouds that reduce the generation, but it's still quite a bit. When I came home at 11 o'clock, which was an hour and a half ago, that figure was at 2.46. So I've added 5.5 kilowatt hours in the last hour and a half. It's pretty good. What's this? Leave it. Your lungs had a hit already today. You mean the smoke? Yeah. Yep. District 9 is a great movie. Don't spend that much on effects anymore. Yeah, District 9 was a funny movie. I like that. They should have made the Shrimps. They should have made another movie after District 9 to follow, but they never did do that. They left it so it would work. Annette loves the song. Sorry that I cut off short there, Annette, but I needed to respond. Oh, generating over 5 kilowatt hours now. The sun is really coming. I can just see it's lit up over here. Much brighter here. Certified solar install. They actually torque every connection. 10 to 1 a requirement for insurance. What do you mean torque every connection? What does that mean, Nick Muller? What does that mean? I'm sure there are all kinds of insurance requirements because of potential fire hazards. Yeah, so no, there's no solar panel installation on their place. They just have a fire. Sounds like the alarms have stopped. They're responding to the alarm or the fire right now. Hopefully all is going well and no one is injured. Like I said, I don't think anyone's home right now. It's just above freezing here, folks. It's 39 degrees Fahrenheit. It's just barely above freezing, about 5 degrees right now. shouldn't be, or they're 7 degrees above. Shouldn't be a firefighter. All those rescued would be swooning. Light rain. Well, I'm tempted to become a firefighter just to contribute back to the community. Of course, General Don Bolduc set the example for me becoming a reserve police officer. I'm not sure I want to go to the police academy. I'd much rather be a volunteer firefighter. Depending on the courses you take, there are restrictions what you can do, whether you can go in a building or not, whether you can wear the mask, all that stuff, what kind of fires, what support you can do. But the basic course starts out, and it's not cheap, but the fire departments are suffering here. We have a merger and amalgamation of volunteer fire departments because Americans are not being civic-minded. While our population grows ever larger, the number of people participating and volunteering in our society gets ever smaller and dwindles. We see this veteran service organizations, we see this with civic organizations, and we see it with volunteer fire departments, which are suffering immensely around the country because they cannot get people to contribute. It's unfortunate. But at my advanced age, as Ronaldo would say, I'm contemplating seriously becoming a firefighter. I haven't really talked about that much in the past because I don't want to make a promise I wasn't going to be able to fulfill. But that is the plan. The clouds have come back now, and I've got from 5 to 1 kilowatt hour per hour being generated, just like that. Mandela's house has been abandoned. Yeah, I know. We've known about that for a long time. They've ignored that place for a long time. It's in disrepair. I'm surprised that there haven't been homeless moving into it. I'm sorry, the unhoused moving in. My husband and I are looking at this now. Good price. Oh, Mandela's house. Yeah, good price. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt about that. Yeah, it is sad. It is sad. But again, I didn't even mention that in my video about the EFF. All they want to do is destroy things. How about building some things? Again, I talked about the Zulu site at Blood River in Kome, and the fact that the Afrikaner side, which was run by the state under the National Party, is now run by a private foundation, which is responsible for the Voortrekker Monument. They managed to run the site, maintain it, keep people there, know what they're talking about, a restaurant going, and the site going, despite its remoteness. Its remoteness, it is. It's a long drive down a dusty gravel road. And on the other side of the river, where the bridge is built across, there's a Zulu site, which is not being maintained, which is not even being manned. I was there in February at the height of summer on a business day, during business hours, not during lunch, and there wasn't a soul to be found. I wanted to talk to people about the site and ask them questions, but there was no one to be found. I could have burned the place down. They never would have known it. Annette likes the snowman. Yeah, well, I put it up every year. Just got it up now, so I've just got to put some cover on that box down there. Old timers or red wine, whichever comes first. What do you think will happen to the Moonshot Pact manages to win South Africa? Well, this is what will happen to the Moonshot Pact. I've said it before. I said it when I was covering the events in Joburg, excuse me, or not, at Kempton Park, when I covered the events at Emperor's Palace, the launch of the multi-charter coalition on a cover. And I said it then, I'm going to say it again. The challenge they'll face is once they get into power, they have to deal with a bureaucracy that has been staffed by a corrupt patronage system of the African National Congress for 3 decades. You will have many government officials, just like the Trump administration, who will actively work against the benefit and the good of South Africans and undermine the multi-charter coalition, the pact. They will be undermined by a state, an administrative state that will undermine them. That's going to happen. So you must temper your expectations on improvement in South Africa as they have to deal with that. Much as we had to do the same thing with Trump. But we didn't know that Americans would be so treasonous as to betray the chief executive of the United States simply because they didn't like him. But we now have learned a lot about the administrative state in America, and it is repulsive and vile. And it is just the same and worse in South Africa. So that is going to constrain improving South Africa. Additionally, the Democratic Alliance are leftist. They're not centrist. They're not conservative. They don't believe in conservative values. They believe in some values that conservatives espouse, but not all. So they are going to continue to be in favor of giving other people's money away. They're going to be in favor of state-owned entities. They're going to be in favor of lots of things. Their argument will be that we can run it better. No one can run it better. No one should be running Eskom except a private corporation with a board of directors and shareholders. No one should be running Petrol SA except a private corporation, a board of directors, and shareholders. No one should be running, and the list goes on and on. Airports Company South Africa, Transnet, SAA. The list is endless. The Democratic Alliance won't end that. They'll reinforce it. There will be a degree of patronage that comes in, but the difference is that with these parties, we can expect to see a higher degree of competence in the patronage deployments from the new ruling coalition, as opposed to the incompetent, corrupt, thieving boobs that the ANC has put into positions. So there will be improvements in South Africa, but it won't be exponential. It'll be incremental. And South Africans have to have patience. You can't turn around and say, throw the bums out at the next election. You can't do that. And there will also be petty jealousies and differences amongst the coalition partners that will lead to fractious governance. And we are likely to see the multi-party charter break apart now and then. That's what I say we're going to see. Well, Chris, we can talk about beautiful rugby over the weekend, just not the Sevens. Yeah, I know the Sevens is terrible. They've ruined it. They've ruined it. I'm not even watching it now. And I spent a lot of time doing color commentary and play-by-play of the Sevens tournaments all over for the past 3 years, haven't I? Put a lot of time and effort into it, just get a handful of people watching them, and I did it anyway. Because those who watched, the handful of people enjoyed it, and I was watching it, I might as well do the calls. But the design, the name, the amalgamation of the men and women and the fashion they've done, it's atrocious. And I'm the person that thought the amalgamation of men and women in Vegas was a good idea. A 3-day tournament was fantastic. But this garbage that they've come out with now, abandoning London, abandoning Las Vegas for Los Angeles, and for multiple tournaments in Spain where nobody goes, no, I'm sorry, it's not good. Hey, Frank Corp, how you doing? John says, thanks for that. DA is ANC light, which I've been saying for years. Well, so have I, John. So have I. You know, they're a socialist party. They're a left of center. They are left of center. They just don't want to admit it. I mean, you know, they get called the white party. They get called a racist party. They get called the party of the whites. Well, isn't that ironic? Because the antecedent roots of the Democratic Alliance are the Liberal Party during the apartheid era and Helen Suzman. Those are the antecedent roots. The party that was a leftist party that opposed the right-wing National Party in Parliament. Their very roots are liberal. They are a liberal leftist party. They've always been. Yes, South Africa does need a Donald Trump. They do. Unfortunately, I'm not South African, so I can't help you. Super funny to see a smiling snowman next to your face. Yeah, it's pretty cool, huh? There you go. And it's light. He's nice, light and lit up. Yep. What's this? So much for Zulu uplift the area. What's this? A speaker of marvelous man. Huh? Know what you're saying there. Those mean tweets. Yeah, those mean tweets were rough. Boy, they really changed the world, didn't they? Not. Actually, I've got some washed out background. Let me see if I increase the lights here, if that helps. Yeah, that's a little bit better. There we go. I had left it off so you could see the snowman better. I had it on the low setting. I got 3 settings for that. I got a remote control for my lights, my studio lights here. I've got, I've showed these guys this before. I've got warm lights. Oh, that hurts my eyes. I don't like that. I've got white lights. Oh, that really hurts my eyes. Woo, man. My cone's just closed. And then I've got the cold ones. Yeah, there we go. Kind of a blue tinge to it. I like that one. Woo, but that's the high setting. You can set it for 25 or 20%, 50%, or 100%. I had it on 20%, and now I've switched to 100%. You don't have a Trump in South Africa, and Trump is a patriotic American who's a successful businessman, and people don't like him and lie about him. You know, it's comical, the things that people say about Trump and what they get wrong. Again, I don't like Trump, but I like facts, and I deal in facts. And the bottom line is that Trump was the most successful single one-term conservative president in the history of the United States who accomplished an amazing array of things in such a short period of time, despite the fact that the administrative state and the Congress were criminally treasonous against him throughout his entire time, not to mention the media, social media. The list is endless. I mean, they lie about the guy all the time. And by the way, if you're comparing Donald Trump to Cyril Ramaphosa, I don't know that you are, but if you are, Cyril Ramaphosa is not a successful businessman. He's a fraud. He's always been a fraud. Cyril Ramaphosa was handed hundreds of millions of dollars in equity for businesses, and he has not grown that at all. In 30 years, he has not become a multi-billionaire, which he should have. You give me $350 million of equity in 1994, and I'm telling you, then in 2023, I'm worth 5, 6, 10, 12 billion dollars. It takes money to make money. You give me that kind of money, I'll make a fortune. And I would have made a fortune over that period of time because I knew where to invest. And I have some successful investments that have borne fruit on that. But if I'd had billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars, imagine what I could have done with that. Now, Cyril Ramaphosa is not a successful businessman. He's a fraud. He's a fat cat, lazy turd who has been living like a leech off of other people's success, who handed him equity in a buy-off to pay him off to keep his mouth shut and not be in government. That's the bottom line. Cyril Ramaphosa is not a successful businessman. Anyone that believes that doesn't study business. That's what frustrates me about things. I saw someone comment on my video the other day, and the person in my video the other day said, well, yeah, you should stop, listening to mainstream media, you should do your own research. You know, your support for Russia and for the Middle East are problematic. I'm like, okay, first off, what videos are you watching? When have I ever supported Russia? Ever. Never. When have I ever supported countries in the Middle East? Never. Ever. With the exception of Israel, and that's only recently, publicly, and places I lived in the past. But Tunisia doesn't get my support for over a decade now since the Arab Spring. So that's a lie. Where do they get that from? That wasn't even the video, wasn't germane to the topic that I was discussing. That's the first thing. Second thing is do my own research. Of course I do my research. Not listen to the mainstream media. Of course I listen to mainstream media because I refute their lies and propaganda and I expose their hypocrisy on a daily basis. That's why we take the news stories and I offer commentary and tell people what's really going on. And as far as doing my own research, I'm a published author in academic circles. It doesn't get any more research-based than that. I'm a journalist, published journalist. I am a radio commentator. I am a guest. I am a source for multiple news agencies. I appear in multiple international radio programs. I do documentaries. I do my own research. I'm a genealogist. It's funny when people put these comments on videos that know nothing about their comment, that aren't even germane to the video that's being discussed. The American left can't and won't hear the word nationalist without pretending, imagining hearing the word white in front of it. Trump's a nationalist, hence America first. Yes, he is a nationalist. He's a nationalist. America's first. That's right. But they put white nationalists. But the problem is that Trump has wild support in the black community, massive support in the Hispanic community, and it's growing in the Jewish community where it wasn't before. Yep, Progressive Federal Party, DA's pre-94 name, I believe. Yeah, well, the Liberal Party was also part of that with their one seat. Ramaphosa ain't no farmer. He can't find an iPad. My iPad. Who stole my iPad? My iPad was here. Who stole my iPad? Talk about embarrassing, man. That wasn't even funny. He looked like a buffoon. Fetterman's talking a lot of sense anyway. Well, Fetterman's actually talking about Menendez, and he's actually making sense. He's stringing coherent sentences together, which is a shocker. All right, so Annette has gone quiet. No reason to go quiet, Annette. Not attacking you, just asking a question. I think you did say Ramaphosa. No, Ramaphosa, Annette, my friend, is not a successful businessman. Trump is. Now, well, the left will say, well, Trump had a silver spoon put in his mouth. Trump got somewhere in the order of $5 million inheritance and money from his father. He is a graduate of the University of Penn. That's the anti-Semitic Ivy League school that we've been talking about today. University of Penn's Wharton Business School. The most famous University of Penn Wharton Business School graduate in the history of humankind. A man who took that $5 million and converted it into a fortune somewhere between $6 and $12 billion, depending on which bankers you believe. Not Trump, but the bankers. Yeah, and then sacrificed it all to be president of the United States and was betrayed by the media and by the Congress and Americans who will believe anything they want because Donald Trump has orange hair, because he's white, so he's a white supremacist. Utter nonsense. Donald Trump built low-income housing for black Americans in New York City when no one else would do it. He also built high-rise luxury office buildings for the rich because it made him a lot of money, which allowed him to do those other projects at cost with almost no profit. He took rundown neighborhoods in New York City and turned them into posh developments, which brought billions in revenue and taxes and businesses and people into the city of New York. This is what Donald Trump has done. He's hired more minorities, more women, more gay people than anyone in business ever. Now, I don't have the data for that. This is what the press said about him before he ever ran for office. He's got more friends who are black and wealthy and influential than anybody until he ran for office, and suddenly he's a white supremacist. His events in Charlottesville, they're all lied about. All lied about. The entire quote of what he said in Charlottesville, he called out the people who misbehaved on the right and on the left, especially on the right, and demonized them for their actions that day. Remember, someone got drove over and killed? And he said so 4 times that day in 4 different public appearances. He addressed it and called it out. The media lied about it and said he supported right-wing white supremacists and Klan supporters. That's a total lie. In Chicago, when he ran for office, people were attacked on the streets outside of his public speaking event there in Chicago. The media falsely portrayed it and said that Trump supporters beat up protesters, when actually the video footage showed that Trump event attendees were physically assaulted by protesters anti-Trump. Completely opposite. Completely opposite. Look, I don't like Donald Trump, but I like the truth. And this whole New York fraud case against Donald Trump is all bogus, ladies and gentlemen. They are using Trump's claim of what his assets were worth to secure a loan from Deutsche Bank, one of the largest banks in the world, one of the most successful banks in the world, based in Frankfurt, Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bank executives have told the public and the court before this trial even started, since the trial started, that Donald Trump's affairs were in order, that they are the ones that put the value and assessed it at that level for his Mar-a-Lago estate, for his other properties, for his New Jersey golf course. That was the collateral he put against the loan. By the way, this fraudulent lawsuit is accusing Trump of inflating the value of his assets to get a loan. Okay, let's pretend he did that. But is that a crime? Not if the bank agrees with it, and that's what's going on here. The bank said it didn't. By the way, there's no mention in the media by anybody in the corrupt media, left or right, including Fox News, of telling you that the Trump organization made every payment on time for that loan, paid it back in full with interest to Deutsche Bank, which is satisfied with their client. This is a bogus lawsuit meant to interfere with the events going on in the nation now, with primaries and with our choice for who we're going to select. That's what it's all about. The same with the classified documents nonsense. Trump gave access to the facility to the National Records, Archives and Records Administration, NARA, and the FBI on several occasions. They came, they collected information, they went back, they put a lock on the thing, they said everything's fine, and then they came and descended in pre-dawn hours with 40-plus federal agents with body armor, automatic weapons to raid Mar-a-Lago to get their perpetrator walk moment, even though he wasn't there, to embarrass the president so that people won't vote for him. Meanwhile, Joe Biden was stealing classified documents for well over a decade, leaving them in an unsecure office building in Washington, D.C., so that Chinese spies could find them. We know they have the logs where the Chinese spies signed in. And they had access to this office where the documents were not secured in any locked storage container, and they weren't even authorized to be there because they weren't simply secret collateral documents, but top secret sensitive compartment information which Joe Biden stole and had in his possession, even though he had no authority to declassify them. And he left them in his garage next to his Corvette, and he left them in his home. Yet there's no special counsel in a daily report about that case. This is all fraudulent. Does that mean Donald Trump is an angel? No. Does that mean Donald Trump is a good person? No. Does that mean Donald Trump has not made any mistakes? No, it doesn't. He's done all those things. He is all those things. But this is ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. This is an abuse of the state to target your enemies. This is what the Soviets do. This is what Venezuela and North Korea do. This is what the ANC does. Trans-conservatives got to go get a migraine. Sorry to hear about your migraine. Go see you back there. Unopposed is a bad... oh, yeah, well, but Trump is not even remotely like Cyril Ramaphosa. Trump has actually accomplished things. Devet Martins, God chooses imperfect people as warriors. Mr. Trump is his King David. How much money? Yeah, how much has Cyril Ramaphosa donated to charity? By the way, the ANC owes this company, Israeli, a total of 140 million rand. Ladies and gentlemen, $10 million would be 190 million rand. So it's not even $10 million. So they owe this company less than that, right? So why don't they simply get the money from Cyril Ramaphosa, Tokia Sexwale, and Patrice Motsepe? They wouldn't even notice it missing, but none of them have donated to cover it. Gays for Trump. There is a G-Swear. I saw them on January 6th. I've got video footage and photographs of thousands of homosexuals supporting Donald Trump, flying their gay pride flags. Yep, absolutely. Yep. Sorry you got to go, trans-conservative. Good to see you again. The thing that shocked me the most is flashness of foreign hate from media and social media. People trying to tell us who to vote for, and it's happening again. Yeah, of course. Of course. How can Trump cheat the bank if they have their own? Exactly, G. Sawyer. Thank you. Someone with common sense right there. The bank could simply say, nope, Trump, your Mar-a-Lago estate's not worth $120 million. We value it at $10 million. As a consequence, your portfolio is only worth this amount. Therefore, we're only going to give you this much money. That's what they could do. But that's not what happened. They accepted the value and they did their due diligence and they got their money back. If the bank had been defrauded and the payments hadn't been made and the businesses had collapsed because of the overvaluation, we might have a case here. And by the way, every single week, almost every day, Letitia James, the corrupt attorney general of the state of New York, is on social media, on Twitter, writing about the case attacking Donald Trump, who is a defendant in the case. How is this not an abuse of authority? How is this not a removed from office offense for a corrupt attorney general of the state of New York? It is. But no one wants to talk about it. Tucker Carlson's not talking about it. Alex Jones isn't talking about it. What's his name there? Joe Rogan isn't talking about it. The Lotus Eaters aren't talking about it. All these famous, conservative and right-wing commentators I'm talking about have been talking about it all along. But of course, I'm sitting here on this little platform suppressed. It's a photo behind Trump signing some paper behind there, 5 black people standing, laying hands on his shoulders. No, it wasn't photoshopped, all-seeing guy. That was about probably the photo you're talking about is when he signed historic levels of funding for historically black colleges, universities, HBCU. Historically black college universities, HBCU. These are places like the place in Georgia. I can't think of all of them. Then, of course, the one down there in Norfolk. All these historic black college universities, Central State, Howard University, places like that. Donald Trump signed $500 million in federal money for those schools. Now, I didn't support that. I don't believe in the federal government giving money to universities, but he did that for black Americans. There's almost no white Americans who attend any of those universities. It wasn't for them. It was for black Americans to advance tertiary education. Do you see any major news stories on that? Joe Biden is claiming that he's forgiving student loan debt for worthy borrowers. That's bullshit. He's forgiving debt for deadbeats who refuse to pay the debt that they've incurred for the degree that they were able to get courtesy of the taxpayer. And I say taxpayer because private banks no longer provide student loans. Obama stole the student loan program from the private sector, stole it, and put us as taxpayers on the hook for hundreds of billions of dollars given to people so they can study gender studies, queer studies, and America is a systemically racist country. It's utter nonsense. Hey, African Idiot, how's it going? Annette says, one reason why I hate politics, rather watch my sport. Well, sport's full of politics too, unfortunately. But we love having you here, Annette, and I'm glad you are here. Should independent win the presidency? How does this affect the composition of Congress? Will this president then be reliant on current? Yeah, it doesn't affect the composition of Congress. People don't run for office and get elected based on their political party. Oh, we know that's actually how it happens. But Congress, anyone can. I can run as an independent and run against Scott Perry, who is the representative for this district. When I become a member of Congress and I vote my conscience. We have so-called independents in the Senate and in the House of Representatives, but primarily the Senate. Of course, the most famous is the fraudulent leftist communist Bernie Sanders, who claims to be an independent but votes in caucuses with the Democrats. So if I ran as an independent, I'd have no choice. In order to get some sort of seat or get influence, I'd have to caucus with a party, and in my case, it would be with Republicans. So yeah, if you have a president, it doesn't matter. They're going to have to convince Congress to vote for their measures. Yep. Or put measures in front of them that he wants or she wants. James Bowie says, we need someone like Trump. Also need to scrap the electoral system, have something better, and change governance like a canton system. I disagree with that entirely, James Bowie. A canton system is not workable for this country. We tried that under the Articles of Confederation. It was an abysmal disaster. It would not work in the 21st century. We do not need to scrap our electoral system. The Electoral College is a brilliant system. What we need to do is scrap no excuse fraudulent mail-in balloting, and we also need to create a federal holiday for the first Tuesday in November for voting, a federal holiday. And everybody votes on that day, unless you're incapacitated, military outside your home district, a U.S. diplomat stationed abroad, or a business person traveling for business that day. Then you can vote with the federal absentee ballot system, which attaches legal jeopardy of a federal felony 5-year mandatory conviction should you commit mail fraud. So that's what we need to do. That's the electoral reform we need. We don't need to get rid of the Electoral College. It's brilliant. It's a democratic system that ensures that the minority doesn't suffer the tyranny of the majority. The tyranny of the majority is the problem. And we have to avoid that at all costs. And that's what the Electoral College prevents. I see the Washington Post actually making an argument that the Electoral College does exactly the opposite of what it really does. They're claiming that because of the Electoral College, people only campaign in a few states. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. Without the Electoral College, they would only campaign in a few states. First past the post means all you have to do is campaign in California, in Texas, in Florida, and in New York, and you've won the election. And oh, by the way, half of those are liberal. And the other 2 were liberal and got converted. Excuse me. I don't dismiss his success. I do look at what he did in COVID and re-elections. Got it. And then I'm not sure what you're talking about. You're talking about Trump. You're not talking about Cyril. His actions in COVID were a disaster. Trump made mistakes in COVID. He made huge mistakes. Huge mistakes. And I've called him out on that repeatedly. Race-based education is bad. Yep. Matthew's suffering from bootylicious syndrome, according to his therapist. Systemic racist right now. It's directed by, it's media and it's government are systemic racist. Yeah, the institutions are not. The courts are not. Snowman is eyeballing. Who can be South Africa's Trump? I don't know. I don't know a figure in South Africa who's like Trump, who believes in the same sort of things. I don't know any politician in South Africa who is as radically nationalist and committed to free market capitalism and non-racialism as Donald Trump is. I don't know. Somebody tell me. Somebody tell me. Black Americans in sanctuary cities will vote Republican based on Trump alone. The GOP establishment is part of the Uniparty. Chris Cream is walking liberal. Yeah. Well, he's not the only one. I mean, look, of course, Nikki Haley is a rhino Republican name only. She is a deep stater. She is a globalist. She is a person who is reneged on her promises not to run against her former boss. And she's enjoying all the attention. She's trying to vie herself for a vice presidential seat or a appointment to the cabinet, neither of which she should get. She should be nowhere near the Trump administration. Yeah, John's looking for a candidate. So far, no luck. Same here. Haley's a war pig. Yep, she is, Radine. She wants war. Yep. But the number of black conservative Americans who like Trump is really surprising how many. There's a lot of them. It's a lot more than people realize. Anyway, all right. Trump is unique. There's no way to find a Trump in the DA. Oh, not in the DA. No, there's none in the DA. And they wouldn't tolerate it. They would expel that person. They would never tolerate someone like Trump in their midst because Trump would draw too much attention and they don't want that lightning rod. Have I been to Arkansas? Yes, I've been to Arkansas. Yep. I have been to every state in the Union in the lower 48. I have not been to Alaska or Hawaii. Lots of leftists have dumped Bernie for his hypocrisy. Well, yeah, they should. He's a fraud. He's always been a fraud. This guy went to Francois Pinard, maybe be a Trump. I don't know about that. You trying to be funny, Matthew? Bernie Sanders went to the Soviet Union for his honeymoon when he got married during the Cold War. Would someone please ban Chris Christie? What did Hendo say there? From a table. By the way, I got donuts today. Hey, folks. So like I said, my head was a little fuzzy earlier. That's why I'm surprised I got through this broadcast this way. I made a few mistakes broadcasting, but not too bad. My head was a little fuzzy, and I called a meeting, and I thought it was this morning. It's actually next Monday, and so I showed up at my VFW post, and all my officers showed up, but it's next week, so I'd apologize to them. But we did spend the time productively talking about some issues we need to address, and it was interesting. But afterwards, because I was hungry, I hadn't eaten, and I had this broadcast coming up, I went to Dunkin' Donuts. I haven't gone to Dunkin' Donuts in like 3 or 4 years. The reason I haven't gone to Dunkin' Donuts is they stopped making maple-flavored donuts. That's the maple topping and the icing. They stopped it about 3 or 4 years ago, I think, something like that, and I'm like, I'm not coming here anymore. I only come for the maple donuts, the only ones I like. So I went in on a lark because I know they make sandwiches now, and I just needed a sandwich. I didn't feel like going to a Burger King to McDonald's or Arby's or Wendy's, all of which are nearby. I didn't want a burger. It was not 11 o'clock in the morning. So I went, got a sandwich and got like a coffee-like drink. That's this like a Starbucks Frappuccino, but half the price. Not as good as Starbucks, but not bad. But half the price, that's enticing. Also, and I got it for even less because they gave me a military police discount, which took a significant part off my bill. So thank you for that, Dunkin' Donuts. But I walked in, I said, she said, what do you want? I said, give me a second, please, because I need to look at your menu. I haven't been here like 3 or 4 years because you guys stopped making maple donuts. And that's the only reason I came. She goes, oh, we have maple donuts. I said, where? Right here. There's 2 left. I'll take them. I said, when did you start making them? She said, about 3 or 4 months ago because customers kept complaining that we didn't have maple donuts. I'm like, pretty awesome. Bernie's a loony. Only Jake Tapper likes him. Yeah, I think you're right about that. Hendo says they sound like Canadian donuts. No, maple flavored donuts are very tasty. They're brown, light brown, more like a tan color, and they taste like maple syrupy taste. Yep. Yep. Anyway, so all right. So we're dropping off on the audience here, folks. We had a lot of people. Average view duration's been 1848, despite the fact that a lot of people left. That's pretty cool. We must have been over 20 minutes at one point. So 53 people currently here, 89 likes. Can we push that to 100, please? Can you make that be 100? But thanks, folks. I'm gonna when I check out of this here. By the way, it started late today because of that meeting, which I had on the wrong day. So maybe I should be South Africa's Trump. Well, go for it, Matthew. Little Rock. They substitute cotton for rice. Thought it was what? I know what you're talking about there for Namibia. Okay. G. Sawyer doesn't like John Steenhuisen. I interviewed John Steenhuisen. Got him one time. Wasn't easy, though. I tried to get him for a long time, and I kept getting fobbed off by the DA. Finally got him, and I just pissed him off. So sorry about that, Mr. Steenhuisen, but it wasn't directed at you. You took it as a slight that wasn't intended at you. But anyway, I could see why he took it as a slight, because a lot of people came up and said, good job calling him out. And I said, well, I didn't call him out. I just stated a fact. It wasn't my intent to call him out. Let's take a quick look at the solar output, or input, I should say, what I've generated here before we go anywhere. Oh, we're up to 9 kilowatt hours. That's half what we had 3 days ago, but it is 4 times what we had yesterday already, and it is just 1 o'clock. I got at least 2 more hours of good sunshine if the clouds don't come, and then 3 hours of more light. So let's see, but the production's way down. Must be clouds overhead now, but we should be able to hit 10 kilowatt hours easily. Anyway, beta male. Anyway, folks, 1 hour, 40 minutes into this thing, so I'm going to wrap it up here. Feel free to go and check out the stream from yesterday, the one I did about Malema. That one has about 1,700 people on it. And thanks for all the folks we saw for the first time in ages, like trans-conservative waifu. It's nice to see you here. And what was the question about Ronaldo's Sunday stream? I didn't catch that. Did it not work? What happened with Ronaldo's stream? Oh, Vietnam. Sorry. You say Nam. I don't know about Namibia. Sometimes talking about Namibia. You need billions and billions of rand. Yeah, that's not bad. We can do that. We can give you billions and billions of rand. But folks, a prominent U.S. physician who is a lecturer at Cornell in New York says, I'm not going back to South Africa. After being assaulted by robbers in Philippi and beaten and horrible stuff. 67-year-old man. Yep, this is South Africa. It is a violent place. And if you are anybody who looks remotely wealthy or has more than somebody next to you, you become a target. That's pretty sad, but that's reality. All right, folks, thanks a lot. And thanks for those of you who tuned in for the games this weekend. 4 of the 5 went our way. 4 South African sides won. Unfortunately, the Stormers disappointed and choked away a victory. But the Cheetahs won big in Parma against Zebra. Then the Sharks won at home against Section Pawa, or Po. And then we saw the Bulls at Loftus serve notice against Saracens, winning that game there. And then finally, the Lions won their game on the road. Nicely done by the Lions. Unfortunately, the Stormers choked it away. All right, guys, have a good day. I watched Ross Perot speak live back in the day. Wow, that's pretty cool. I saw him on TV, but never saw him live. Ross Perot was an interesting character. Made $1 billion off of his own, and then made more billions. He started with EDS, which he sold to General Motors for a couple $1 billion. Started that with a loan from his wife, like $6,000. Turned it into $1 billion company, sold electronic data systems to General Motors, and then founded Perot Systems, which became a multi-billion-dollar company in its own right. Mistaken, but rather what I suggest for South Africa. What are you saying, James? I missed that. Everybody take care. We'll see you later. God bless and have a good night. I'm going to check on my neighbors, see if their house is okay. Bye-bye.